Hi, this is Miss Goodale, and today I'm going to be talking about dot plots and frequency tables. So to start out with, I first want to talk to you about what each of those is, and then we're going to work with them a little bit. So a dot plot is just a number line with marks that show the frequency of data, and frequency just means the number of times something happens. So if I look at this, it's got dots, it's got a number line. The dots tell me how many times I have each of those numbers. So I would have one of the twos, two of the fours, three of the fives, 1 6, 1 7, and 3 9. So it tells me that I had that many of each of those numbers. I don't have a label on this, so it doesn't tell me what exactly this is talking about, but that's just kind of an example of what one would look like. So then we're going to move on to what a frequency table is. And a frequency table is a table that shows the number of times each data value or range of values occurs. So this would be my frequency tables. This would be what I started out with. So I would have taken this and counted out. I have 289s, 291s, 490s, 188, and I already said that 89. Then we have 395s. So if I counted out each of those numbers, I have that many of each of them. Okay, so that's basically what a frequency table is. A frequency table tells you how many times you have that value. So if I counted this, the amount of times that I see it over here matches the number over here. Sometimes you might see a tally chart that would have the amount of tallies instead of the actual number. Okay, so you might see it with the tallies like this, or you might see it with just the numbers. Or you could start with tallies and change it to numbers. A relative frequency table is taking the frequency table a step further, so it shows the percent of time each piece of those occurs. So not only do I have the score or the number over here and then the frequency, but then I have the percentage that is. Now notice if I have all of these frequencies, they should all add up to 100% because 100% is all of them, right? So this one I use different numbers. It's not the same as that. But if I had 385s, 690s, and 195, 3 of those is equal to 30%, 6 of those is 60%, and 1 of them is 10%. That would be out of 10. So 3 out of 10, 6 out of 10, and 1 out of 10 becomes those percents. Okay. I'm going to go into a little bit more detail now. So let me turn this over and show you an example here. So I've got a chart here that gives me hours studied. I'm going to make a frequency table. I'm going to make a number line or a dot plot, and then I'm going to change that into relative frequency also. So the first thing I want to do is I'm going to write my numbers here for my hours. So I have 0, and I could also put a dot here for 0. I have 1, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 ones. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dots up there for 5 ones. And then I have 2. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for 2. So I'm going to count that. 3, 4, 5, 6. And then I have my 3s. So I have 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So that would be my dot plot. So my dot plot's pretty easy to do. All I have to do is put a dot for each value here. And then as I was doing that, I was counting. So I had 1 at 0. So one student had 0 hours that they studied. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that studied for 1 hour. I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I had 6 that studied for 2 hours. And I had 1, 2, 3, 3 that studied for 3 hours. So now I'm just going to take this information and I'm going to use that same information. So my first 2 columns are going to be the same. And this would be the relative frequency table. Okay, so this one's just a regular frequency table. Relative frequency table is where I change my frequency to percents. So what I do to do that, though, is I figure out the total number of for each number. So I could say I have 5 by 3, or 5 times 3 is 15. So I know there were 15 numbers, or I could add these all up. 1 plus 5 is 6, 6 plus 6 is 12, 12 plus 3 is 15. So there are 15 total. So 100% is 15, but to figure out the relative frequency, or the percent, so I'm going to just go ahead and put percent signs there so that I remember that those are supposed to be percents. I need to do my frequency, which is 1, and divide that by my total. So 1 divided by 15. And if you remember, if you remember doing percents in the past, then you should be able to do this. Okay, so I'm going to have a repeating 6, and I'm going to round that to 7. So if I have 0.6 with a line above it, I'm going to round that to 0.7. Sorry, 0.07. And then in order to change that to a percent, I move my decimal twice, and so that's 7%. Then we have 5 here, so we take our 5 divided by 15, and 3 goes into there, and this is another one that's going to keep coming out zeros or 3s. So this one is a repeated 3. I'm going to round that down to 33%. Okay, I moved my decimal twice. My next one is 6, so I have 6 out of 15. And this one should come out evenly. And if I move my decimal twice, then I get 40. And my last one is 3. 3.0 is 3 divided by 15, and that's 0.2. And if I move my decimal twice, then I get 20%. So my percentages are 7%, 33%, 40%, and 20%. I tried to show the work on finding the percentages, but you may need to go back and review how to find a percent. We talked about that several chapters ago in our math. But basically that's it. So to do the dot plot, you just have to put a dot for every value. To do the frequency,